Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's program. I'm Zach Drew.
And I'm Andrew Bellers.
There are three things that we're going to want to cover today. One, maybe it's a different take than you've heard on the outcomes of the midterm elections. The second thing we want to cover is a quick update and a shocking story that came out about this migrant invasion that didn't take place before the midterm elections, but they are still on their way. And also how all of that is even connected to Netflix. And we're going to be discussing Netflix and how they are truly just a globalist propaganda media streaming service. And some of the people that are connected to this, I feel that's going to be really enlightening to you. And it's going to kind of show you the big picture of how everything is really connected. Before we start on today's program, first of all, I just want to say I've been really enjoying the feedback, the comments that I've been receiving, whether you've been watching on Facebook, whether you've been watching on YouTube or on the PTL television network. I'm loving the feedback. Please give us more feedback. I want you to feel like you're connected to this show. It's not just, you're not just sitting there, listening to us talk and there's no communication. We want to connect with you. We want to know what you feel, what you feel the Lord is telling you. We want to know about that. I also want to thank the people that have partnered with us. It is just such an incredible blessing. I feel so blessed that you have partnered with us. For those of you that have given on a reoccurring monthly basis, thank you. Thank you so much for that. And even those who have given a one-time gift, we are so appreciative of that. Our goal is to do many more shows throughout the week. As we've said before, Andrew actually still works full-time as far as Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday goes. Yeah. I still work throughout the week as well. And we want to focus on this more. We want to start putting out blogs, putting out more than one show. I want to start doing a revelation teaching as well. But it's time. And so we've got to have the ends meet. So for those of you that are partnering with us or have thought about partnering with us, please do it today. Just log on to www.zachdrewshow.com and click donate, or write us at, you can send money to, send it to IGBY, which stands for I Go Before You, a promise that God gave Joshua in Deuteronomy. And make it out to IGBY in Decatur, Illinois, P.O. Box 797, and the zip code is 62525. So let's move right into it, okay? So the midterm election results, Andrew, many leaders on the conservative side, they view the 2018 midterm election as kind of an Armageddon-style, once-in-a-lifetime, most important election of your life, D-Day type of moment, that if we don't maintain the House, it's over, it's over, it's over. Now, with that being said, Andrew, I see where they were coming from, but I do disagree, because I believe that there really, truly needed to be a purge of some of the Republican flakes in the House. There needed to be a purge of some of them. If you think about it, there were certain people sitting in the House representing, of the Congress of Republicans that they weren't Republicans, Andrew.
Yeah.
They did not represent. And I'm going to go ahead and be very forthright with this. I don't necessarily identify with the Republican Party. I really don't. What I view myself as a hardcore conservative rooted in my Christian values. And so a conservative rooted in your Christian values, many Republicans actually do not have your best interests in mind. So this may have been a win.
Yeah.
It may have been a loss initially, but a win coming forward, because we're going to get those rhinos, those Republican in name only people out of the House.
Yeah, well, the truth is it's a win and a loss on a few different issues. But I think that is an exciting aspect that not a lot of people have really taken note of, that we are sort of clearing out people that aren't really on our side.
Exactly. The House Republicans, they promised to defund Planned Parenthood. They promised. And they 100% did not deliver. Maybe one of the reasons we saw what we saw is because a lot of Republicans, a lot of conservatives like you and I are more angry at the Republican congressmen than at the Democrats themselves. Now, I voted. Obviously, I'm a nationalist. I'm a patriot, and I voted red. You know, I voted red all the way through. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that I remember even talking to my wife Alyssa after I voted, and I told her, and a lot of people don't. We just want to get so ramped up. We all want to be hype men that we don't really just sit down and think about what we're doing. Yeah. And I remember telling her, Andrew, I said, I really don't know what I'm voting for. Now, what I mean is this. I said, my biggest issue is life. Yeah. I'm pro-life. Pro-life. Every life matters to the Lord. Whenever I vote, I want my voice to be heard when it comes to life. But even though I was voting red, I was thinking to myself, if I vote for life, what's going to change? Just because I vote doesn't mean that any of these congressmen in the House, these Republican congressmen, are going to magically change. You see, there had to be a purge of these Republicans in House so that one day, maybe in 2 years, they will be filled with more conservative Republicans that represent you and I as a Christian nation. So really what I said, I told my wife, I said, Alyssa, I said, I will always vote for life. You know, I feel like I don't know what I'm voting for because I know that at least this time around, it's not going to happen. But every time you have the opportunity to vote, whether it becomes a reality or not, I believe you were mandated to always, always vote for life. But don't forget that you're also always voting for an anti-globalist position. Yeah. You're also voting for anti-open borders. And truly, you're voting for the acceleration of Christian hostility to be slowed. Yeah. Now, but as we've talked, Andrew, we know that even though we're voting against these things, globalization, open borders, the to Christian hostility, ultimately they're going to happen.
Yeah, we know that without a doubt.
I mean, I can say that. I can say I'm very, very, very hesitant to say ever the Lord told me. But guess what? I don't have to, because the Lord already did tell us, and it's within His Word. You see, I am so not a date setter. I actually am probably on the opposite end of the spectrum where I don't want to. And I might even tell you, listen, sometimes this is maybe what I believe could happen. This is what I believe could happen. But I'm very, very careful whenever I say, thus saith the Lord, or this is a direct line from the Lord. You know, I think we can get most of all that we need from just having that intimate time within His Word, studying His Word. But there had to be a purge, Andrew. There had to be. Yeah. Had to be a purge of the house.
And this shouldn't be, the truth is that we know the end of the book. We know what Revelation says. We know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But that shouldn't discourage you from taking part in the election.
That's right.
For using the voice that so far this government still allows you to have. And the reason for that is, the plan of God for Jesus was that He would die for the sins of us all. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that Judas was guiltless when he betrayed Him. So as citizens of this government, we shouldn't be voting or not voting, because not voting is still a vote.
That's right. I believe it's your responsibility to vote and to represent your values. Politics do matter, even though I think what your ultimate thing that you're wanting to point out now is that no matter what way it goes, you have a responsibility, and no matter who's elected or not elected, Jesus is always on the throne. And even though in this life right now, I'm a conservative that tries to follow my own Christian values, but deep, deep within me, if you have the Spirit of God within you, we're actually all monarchists. And we're looking forward to the coming monarchy, serving one king, and that's King Jesus. Let me say another positive thing about the midterm elections. We have other things we need to talk about, so we're going to try to go through this quickly. Here's an article from FT. FT pointed out for Trump, so this is maybe another positive. For Trump, there might be a silver lining. The paper noted that many of those ousted in the House were moderates who had resisted Trump's agenda. By flushing these lawmakers out of the party, Trump may have just solidified his dominance of the Republican Party, talking about a future aspect. Now, many mainstream political pundits refuse to acknowledge this. This was not lost on President Trump as he took to his Twitter, as he often does. I think that's fantastic. And he said, Trump is saying it's a big victory, and he said this, quote, on his Twitter, "Those that worked with me in this incredible midterm election, embracing certain policies and principles, did very well." Basically saying, if you represented me and my values and my agenda, he did well. Those that did not, say goodbye. Yesterday was such a very big win, and all under the pressure of a nasty and hostile media. Because here's the thing. If you have the opportunity to win the Senate, which we already had a majority, but just barely, and a lot of the Republicans that were on the Senate, not Republicans in my mind, but if you have the opportunity to win the Senate, or lose the House, or lose the Senate and win the House, in this season right now, you would choose to win the Senate and lose the House. Republicans picked up seats in the Senate, solidifying what had been a razor-thin majority.
Yeah. So it is good that we have the Senate, even if we miss the House. But there are some bad things that we have to look forward to because we know that the Democrats have the House.
That's right. And right before you get into that, I do want to say one more thing, is that during what we're kind of seeing what Trump wants to do, one of my favorite people to listen to is Prophet Rick Joyner. And Rick Joyner believes that this could possibly be a type of setup, even maybe a divine setup, that the things that President Trump is actually wanting to do right now, he needs the Senate for. He doesn't even need the House right now to approve his judges, his foreign policy, the possibility of future treaties. He needs the Senate for approval, not the House. So all that to say, once again, there had to be a purge in the House. But we talk about the good things, and I know what you're going to say.
Okay.
And that there is some negative things that will come about because Democrats do have the majority in the House for these next at least 2 years.
Exactly, and we have to address them because that's the obvious thing, that there are negative things. So I have an article here from Michael Snyder, The Economic Collapse, and basically he just goes through some of the things that we should reasonably be worried about because Democrats have the House. It says in just a couple of months, Nancy Pelosi will be Speaker of the House once again. What's the significance of that? Well, that means that if something suddenly happened to Donald Trump and Mike Pence, she would become the President of the United States. To me, that is almost the worst possible outcome.
Yeah.
And especially,
I won't argue with you there.
Especially with her as the Speaker of the House, we can definitely, now we know for sure, Planned Parenthood is not going to be defunded.
That's right.
Elijah Cummings will become the chair of the House Oversight Committee. He's already been calling for the panel to issue subpoenas to the Trump administration on several different investigations. Another top Democrat that absolutely hates Trump is Richard Neal of Massachusetts. He's going to become the chair of the Powerful Ways and Means Committee, and he's already stated that he plans to use his subpoena power to go after Trump's tax returns. One of the greatest things that we've seen from his presidency is the tax returns, and they're going to full-on attack that.
What about the big, one of the biggest things that people have been saying is, if we get the House, we're going to impeach Trump, impeach Trump. Do you think that there's any validity to those threats?
Well, that's the one thing that we really don't have to worry about, which is sort of the irony of the whole strategy of this election cycle for the Democrats was that I probably saw 5 ads a day on YouTube saying, we're going to impeach Trump. The reality is it's just not going to happen.
Now, why? What do you mean? Why isn't it going to happen if they have the majority?
It's not going to happen because, yes, the House has to raise the articles. A member of the House has to raise the articles of impeachment. And then they can investigate or not, but it comes down to a vote. They only need a minority vote. The problem is that if they have voted for impeachment, then it goes to the Senate. And then the Senate has a trial that's sort of like a criminal trial, and they need a supermajority vote. They need a 2/3 vote in the Senate for impeachment.
So once again, that is a major benefit of why the Senate right now is actually more important than the House.
Yeah, and so impeachment is just something that we don't have to worry about at all. But just a few more things that we do have to worry about. You know, Maxine Waters is probably going to get her own committee too. So she's likely going to become the chair of the House Financial Services Committee, and she seems quite eager to use to cause all sorts of chaos. Now we remember Maxine Waters because of that whole debacle after the border issue.
You know, sometimes I kind of look forward to Brian Johnson's brain microchips, you know, where it says that he'll be able to delete certain memories from our brain. It's like, man, you know, some of these people, I'd like to just kind of, you know, not remember the things they did. You know, I'm teasing.
Well, we do remember what she did, which was she basically encouraged crowds to mob members of the cabinet in public places, saying that God is on our side. So that's worrisome that she is in a position of power. And then, you know, just going on, Adam Schiff is likely to become the chair of the House Intelligence Committee. He said in an interview with CNN that the committee would investigate questions involving Russia money laundering and President Trump's business. And now this is the important thing to realize when we're looking at the outcome of this election, is that those that are representing us in Washington are a reflection of the nation as a whole. So maybe not in this election specifically at this time, because as you stated, you know, a lot of Republicans don't want to come out because they don't support the candidates that we're seeing at. But I think in generations to come, we're going to see this trend move further and further left.
That's good. I like it. So we have a lot of other things we want to cover. I really want to get to this Netflix thing. It's very interesting. I think you're going to find it really interesting. I really do. It's. I was telling Andrew about it this week, and he was shocked.
I had not heard any of this.
Yeah, and so you know he's kind of fueled my fire, and so it's like, well, we're going to talk about it. But first, I want to talk about the migrant invasion for really quickly. So just in case you were still wondering if the migrant invasion was orchestrated or not, we do have just one simple article to validate the things that we had been saying on previous broadcasts. George Soros partners with MasterCard to hand out money to migrants. It's a story from Zero Hedge reporting on a story from Reuters. Billionaire investor George Soros has repeatedly denied rumors that he is helping to finance the migrant caravans making their way up from Honduras and Guatemala through Mexico with the ultimate aim of reaching the U.S. But that's about to change. As the Open Society founder who famously financed much of the opposition to President Trump's Supreme Court pick, Brett Kavanaugh, is now partnering with MasterCard to hand out money, just hand it out, in the form of investment capital to migrants, refugees, and others struggling within their communities worldwide, according to Reuters. Through their partnership, Soros is effectively providing open financial support for migrants and refugees seeking to enter the U.S. and Europe. The partnership between Soros and MasterCard, which they are calling Humanity Ventures, is the result of a pledge that Soros made about a month and a half ago to spend $500 million to address the challenges facing migrants and refugees. The challenges facing migrants and refugees to get into the U.S. and to get into Europe, keyword, underline, bold, asterisk, illegally.
Well, I love that we talk about Soros because to the left, the whole Soros, you know, conspiracy is just this huge joke. And I guess it would be a joke until you actually look at where his money is going.
Exactly. So perhaps MSNBC and other liberals who blindly claim that Soros and his network of nonprofits aren't providing any type of financial support to these illegal refugees. How about you just start looking at the facts? The facts are stubborn. You see, and like you just said, George Soros has his money everywhere. He is the ultimate globalist. He is, and pray for his soul, because what he does right now is wicked. It is very wicked what his money goes to support. And it really is to change culture throughout the world, but a target on America. And that leads us to Netflix. Did you know, first of all, let's just talk about Netflix for a moment, because I have some bullet points here. There are 137 million subscribers to Netflix. That's a lot, 137 million. But you got to understand, I actually saw this funny meme, and it was this mama, like a mother, a mom, a mama possum, or a possum, based on where you're from in the country, potato, potato. This mama possum. And on the top of her back, she had like 8 or 9 little babies, right, on top of it. And the meme read basically how we all feel and when one person has a subscription to Netflix. 'Cause that's kind of how we all are. Someone has a subscription to Netflix, and even though 9 or 10 other people don't have the subscription, we all watch from their subscription.
Yeah, they all piggyback on that one person's. Yeah,
exactly. So whenever it says there's 137 million subscribers, that means there's one subscriber for who knows how many people are actually watching, because it's actually far more than 137 million people that are watching. Let me tell you why. Because 37%, there's a 37 again, 37% of all internet users watch Netflix. There are 3.2 billion internet users. Therefore, if over a third of that watch Netflix, well over 1 billion people in the world subscribe to Netflix.
That's a lot of people.
The market value is that basically of Disney. Netflix is 156 billion. Disney, which affects throughout the whole world, is 174 billion. And they've been around for 100 years. You see, but what I want to talk about today is that Netflix is truly a global propaganda agency. There are 3 things that maybe you know, maybe you don't know. First off, did you know that George Soros is one of the leading shareholders in Netflix? We know for a fact that he has at least 317,000 keyword confirmed shares in Netflix.
Well, that one is surprising, but it's probably less surprising than what you're about to say, which is a number of, or a couple of other key figures that you wouldn't guess are really invested in this media service.
Exactly. So you might say George Soros, and you're like, ah, dang, this stinks. Yeah. But you kind of are like, well, you know, probably. Yeah, he's in everything.
Yeah, his money's everywhere.
Exactly. But there's another couple of interesting people that are actually working for Netflix. One, it's very interesting. It really should leave your head scratched like, what? This doesn't quite make sense. Susan Rice, who's a former special assistant to Bill Clinton, national security advisor was for former President Obama, and the United States ambassador to the UN. So think about this. The national security advisor for Obama whenever he was president, the United States ambassador to UN, what is she doing now? She's a board member at Netflix.
That's insane.
What in the world? What does this even mean? I wrote here, I want to read it. Essentially, can't we all agree that she's really honestly just doing the same thing? I mean, what was she doing as national security advisor and the U.S. ambassador to the UN? Wasn't she really, and I know this is a conspiracy, wasn't she really just working for the deep state?
Well, it is a conspiracy, and I think, you know, people don't like that word, but really a conspiracy is just a plot against an enemy. And this has been the progressive leftist game plan since the 60s. You know, this is not a shock to me. Their 2 main targets have been universities, which we see now, and they are just completely, incredibly liberal and progressive, and the media and entertainment.
That's right. So really, I make the point that Susan Rice, her goal, getting up to the tip top of our political spectrum, you know, and looking to see who she was working for and the things that she did and the lies that she made and the stories she covered, the stories that she covered up, rather than covered, it makes it sound like she's a journalist. The stories that she covered up, she really is. I believe that she is working for some type of dark shadow government, whatever you want to talk about, a deep state, and furthering its agenda. And that's exactly the same thing I believe that she's actually doing at Netflix. There's no change. So yeah, we have George Soros, who's a leading shareholder, one of the leading shareholders of Netflix. We have Susan Rice, which, what in the world is she doing? That doesn't make any sense. And we also have, as it came out actually a couple of months ago, that Barack and Michelle Obama are major contributors to Netflix. I mean, you need to put this in perspective. Once again, it's like you gotta think. Like, this is what I was thinking to myself whenever I first learned this. So you're saying, as I'm reading this article, so you're saying that the former most powerful man in the world. Think about that for a second, because I mean, you really can't argue with that. Let's just stop there.
Yeah.
The President of the United States.
At any given point in time.
He is, exactly. He is, whether you like him or you hate him, the most powerful man in the world. So the former most powerful man in the world is now being paid tens of millions of dollars to do what? Tens and tens of millions of dollars. It's an extended contract. To do what? To produce content for a media streaming company? I mean, the President of the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, how many presidents do you know that says, oh, I retired and I went to work for Sony. I retired and I went ahead and moved down to Orlando and we're going to make some new Pixar movies. It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, it doesn't surprise me, and I'm not going to hit all of these points, but there are a number of ways that specific president, the irony that, Trump is this celebrity who became a president, and he just, wasn't qualified because he just had this show on TV, is ridiculous because nobody blurred the lines between Hollywood and D.C. more than Obama. I mean, he transformed the White House Correspondents' Dinner basically into a Hollywood Washington mixer, to the point that E! News actually covered red carpet because they wanted to see what celebrities were going to be there. Actor Cal Penn of the TV show House. I remember this was a big deal back when it happened because House was such a big show.
I used to watch it.
They actually killed his character in the show because Obama hired him to serve as the director of public engagement.
That's why they killed him?
Yeah, that is the reason that they killed him. And Eva Longoria, wasn't hired by him, but worked voluntarily as the co-chair of his 2012 re-election.
So Obama,
campaign.
he loved Hollywood. He loved rubbing shoulders with the celebrities.
He was. I mean, if you talk about Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump as celebrity presidents, Obama was as much a celebrity president as ever has been.
Yeah, so so here we have it. I'll read it for you. So Barack Obama, a multi-year production deal with Netflix in which he and the former First Lady, Michelle Obama, will produce television shows and films for the streaming service. The couple created Higher Ground Productions, a company to produce content for Netflix, the streaming service announced. They're going to be producing scripted series, unscripted series, docu-series, documentaries, and features that highlight issues and themes the president pursued during his 8 years in office. It's all a setup. It's all a setup. Listen, I just want to say, I really hope that during today's broadcast you enjoyed our take on the midterm elections. You enjoyed what we had to say about bringing new evidence to the migrant invasion and what's behind it, and also solidified in your mind that Netflix is actually just a globalist propaganda media streaming service. We hope that you enjoyed our take on this, and I want to encourage you. We have about 30 seconds left. We do need your support. We really do. There is not a media source in the world that is available to the whole world, a large media source that is Christian, truly Christian and conservative in everything that they do. Our goal here at the ministry, it might not take a year, it might take several years, but it's to ultimately create a platform for Christians, not just a network, but an entire platform for Christians in the days ahead. But even in the infant stages of this, just to simply get by on a week-to-week basis, right now, don't despise small beginnings. Don't despise it. I'm excited. I am thrilled already in what the Lord has done through this ministry. But if you've been thinking about giving, typically they say that people watch for 6 months before they first decide to give. I'm going to pray that you break that mold and that you would decide to give today and to become even a monthly reoccurring partner with us here at the ministry.
It really is important because America's greatest export is media and entertainment. And our culture has shaped the culture of the world. And that culture is owned by our spiritual enemies. And we need a force in media so that God's voice can ring throughout the world and change the culture of the world.
Amen. Amen. Hey, we love you guys, and we'll see you next week.